Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything's Been Done podcast, Conversation in Cycling Subculture. I'm your host, Dustin Klein. And today's episode is brought to you by the EBD Gear Shop. Everything you never knew you didn't need. The EBD Gear Shop has got you covered with the latest Protagonist collection. Tops, torso covers, foot mittens, socks, and more. And other stuff. God, I'm bad at this. Check out the EBD Gear Shop for all your EBD needs. Today's guest has been entrenched in cycling his whole life. He grew up BMX, riding, race. I don't think he raced though. He has done a lot of mountain biking in his past. He grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, which is the basis of the ever-famous Breaking Away movie. He's the founder of Trackosaurus Rex, a subculture blog from the early 2000s, which had a very significant role in changing the face of track bikes in the world. He now does Golden Saddle Cyclery, which is a community-centric, culture-focused bike shop with repair and new bikes and good vibes, and they care about just keeping people on bikes and having the best experience they can. Golden Saddle's based out of Los Angeles. Such a solid dude. You can find him on Instagram at Kyle B. Kelley and at Golden Saddle Cyclery. Please welcome Mr. Kyle Kelley.
Who would have ever thought Tracko was going to have a kid?
What an intro that is. Did you ever have plans of having a kid? Was that like a long-term thing you wanted to do or no?
Yeah, no question about it. I think it came a lot later than I was expecting originally. But I think my first kid, Golden Saddle Cyclery, is the reason it came later.
Very good point. Yeah, having a business is essentially having a child.
True.
It's like all-encompassing, takes over.
And actually, I guess Trackosaurus Rex was legitimately my first child.
Yeah, it's like your first project. And actually, I have questions about, like, let's start with this one. What's your first memory of cycling?
My first memory of cycling is my father letting go of me on a two-wheeler and hitting a curb cut and crashing and knocking the wind out of me so bad that I never thought I would ride a bike again in my life. And I think I was probably 4 when that happened. Yes,
like I call those scared straight moments.
Yeah, I was definitely scared straight.
You're like, cool.
But now I look at it now and I'm just like, while that was so scary to me then, now if I knock the wind out of me in a bike crash, I'm just happy that's the only thing that happened to me.
Yeah. Oh, how things change.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then what about what? This is kind of a big question, but what is it that you love about cycling?
To me,
yep.
the act of flying is what I like the most about cycling, which I got at a young age from BMX and then mountain bikes. And then the track bike, I felt like I was flying, but the tires were still on the ground, which was one of the craziest feelings. When we started just riding track bikes down hills, it felt like you were flying, but you were on the ground the whole time. Which also gave me a very similar feeling to snowboarding, which I had quit snowboarding for college. So the track bike kind of filled that void for me as well. But that's where I just love flying.
I'm surprised you never got your pilot's license.
I'm scared of flying like that, though.
Oh, okay. We got to read between the lines here.
Yeah.
What's funny is my wife Ellie always says that like cycling is like feeling like you're flying, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. It's like the quote unquote closest thing. It's like a very obtainable way to get that sensation.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that the first airplanes and bikes had, there's such a lineage there. A lot of people don't know that.
That's right. The Wright brothers were like the first Golden
Saddle.
bikes.
They did bikes and then airplane.
And which is a logical next step.
I think so. I mean, my next shop is a airplane shop. It's not even a bike shop.
Are you going to focus on the hang gliding segment or just full
plane? Man. I was in the park the other day, one of the parks down south in Los Angeles, Kenneth Hahn, and this cat had a like parachute thing, and he was flying in the park. It was wild. It was the craziest thing I'd seen in a long time. It made me so happy.
Whoa. Like an Amazon thing, just like, oh, it's the new fucking electric two-wheeler.
No,
thing.
this was like military grade parachute.
Oh shit.
That he had. It was kind of breezy that day. It was one of the days that the breeze had blown a lot of the smoke out in Los Angeles. So a lot of people were out, and he was in this park, just a public park, full of people, full of children, full of dogs, with this parachute. And the breeze would come, and he would pull his levers, and the thing would go up in there, and he would fly from one end of the park to the other. Dude, it was wild.
Cool.
It was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
Wait, how high are we talking? Like 20 feet?
It was like 20 feet max, but mostly like 5 to 7 off the ground.
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy because this park has a pretty serious drop off on every side. Like he could fly off of this mountain. And I was just like, I cannot believe this guy's doing this. It was wild.
Yeah, I wonder if part of the location was because I know that like hang gliding, they work really good off of cliffs because there's some shit that happens with the wind.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously, because they're always jumping off cliffs, so I figured that. But yeah, this was, the park has a valley in the middle of it, so it's kind of like a bowl. Oh. And he would start at one end on the high part of the bowl, and then fly across to the other part of the bowl, and then he would hike back and do it again.
Sick. Very interesting.
It was crazy.
Yeah, the funny thing, like stuff like that, because of age, it's like now it's just like the risk-reward equation becomes more and more of a thing to focus on.
It really does. And I try to tell myself that with mountain biking these days. But there's this issue I have when I'm on a mountain bike. I no longer think about things like that. Everything, it's like about going as fast as I possibly can and going as big as I possibly can.
Oh my!
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Is that from BMX background?
I would say it would have to have come from that, you know.
It's right. Because I don't know what the hell else. Yeah, because that means like you have a familiarity with like quote unquote getting rad. That is just kind of maybe set the foundation. Okay, that actually makes me think. Have you ever had any proper like big injuries from the bike?
Yeah, quite a few.
Oh, cool. And they didn't scare you out of, or like, scare you straight.
No, actually, I have this conversation quite often. If I'm in a really bad bike accident, if I'm able to get up and ride, I go harder immediately. Oh. So I'm not scared of that crash. Obviously, when a crash is so bad that you can't ride away from it, that changes things. You have to kind of figure out how to overcome that crash later on. But for the most part, if I'm in an accident and I can ride away from it, I go that much faster right afterwards to make sure I'm not scared of that particular crash.
Yeah, interesting. That's like your way to reset the PTSD.
Yeah.
Like you kind of neutralize it before it sets in.
Yeah. And it's something I've always done. And I never even thought about it like that until one day I was with, one of my business partners, Sean Talkington. And he was like, I've never seen anyone crash like you and get up and then just go. And I was like, it seems like I'm doing that for a reason. And I eventually found out, I was like, I'm doing this because I don't want to be scared of the incident I was just in. Which is,
really... Because that's the hook is you go down with like anything or even like I broke my foot skateboarding a couple years back. Simple thing. It wasn't a big deal, but it really was like, okay, maybe I'm done fucking with this thing because this simple little thing had this like 6-month consequence.
Yeah. And things like your hands and your feet, it's just so easy to do harm to them. And they're so important for your daily life. That's definitely something to think about.
That's pretty funny. Okay, back to the questions. How did you discover track bikes? And where were you when that happened?
I was in Bloomington, Indiana.
That was Indiana. Cool.
Yeah, so I was at It was right before college, so probably like 2001.
Sick.
There was remember that magazine Stance? I think it was Stance.
Stance was a
One of
skateboard magazine?
Yeah, Skateboard Culture magazine.
Okay, yeah, it sounds
Right?
really familiar.
They did a article. I mean, it's so funny because I just cleaned out like a storage facility the other day with all this old Traco stuff.
Oh, cool.
And there was 3 of those magazines in there with the article, and the article is how to convert, old road bike into a track bike. So did that right before I went to college. So I wasn't riding my expensive mountain bike around college and locking it up.
And then was college in Bloomington?
Yes, in Bloomington, Indiana.
And then I feel like it shouldn't go without saying is Bloomington is where the Little 500, the
Correct.
movie The Cutters, it's a small town in the Midwest that has kind of a lot of cycling cultural history.
Yeah, so the movie's breaking away.
Thank you.
And Cutters are a local team that aren't part of the school.
Right,
right.
right.
And that was because they are limestone cutters, or what people are called from Indiana.
Oh, yeah, because the race is like college sanctioned or something weird, right?
Yeah, it's usually fraternities and sororities.
Weird.
And there's been controversy throughout the years whether like local teams and stuff like that can do it.
Right,
And that's kind of what the movie talks about. And it's gone back and forth since that movie came out.
Oh, weird.
But the opening scene where they're on the slab of rock in the water, that's a super famous limestone quarry that we used to go swimming at in college.
Oh, cool. Quarries are awesome. They're so unique.
They're very cool, very unsafe. Just saying.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's cars in those things.
Oh,
you can do some of the big jumps. People have hit cars at the bottom, stuff like that.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, like where people learn how to do drugs and push their limits.
True, very true. Kind of where I learned how to do drugs and push my limits.
It was. Yeah, I figured it would be more on the bike than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wasn't riding bikes as much then. I was legitimately only using it for transportation. College really took over.
Yeah, and that's like a youth thing. Like, I think when people in that age, it's common to kind of like be in bike when they're younger, kind of it gets fuzzy around that age, and then, maybe 20s, it starts to come back in.
Yeah, it felt good that because I was riding, but it was just as transportation. I mean, I was riding a lot every day, but I wasn't like riding for fun. It wasn't until I moved to Chicago and kind of fell in with a bunch of kids on track bikes there and really started to ride track bikes for fun there.
Oh, cool. And then was that when did Traco start during all this?
Traco started in Los Angeles. So in Chicago, it was, it was all bike forums. Bike forums, the fixed gear part of bike forums, that was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, but also that's like very forward acting and thinking, you know what I mean? Like precursor to like blogs were like maybe even not that much of a thing at that point.
I don't even think they were a thing at that point.
Yeah, cool.
Everybody was just on forums. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I met a gentleman named Steven Nario, and he was kind of he was like my Los Angeles dad. Him and this guy, John Ceballos, those two really showed me everything about Los Angeles that I still love to this day.
No way.
And Steven and I started Traco together.
Oh, whoa, the silent partner.
Well, he wasn't silent in the beginning, but then it just kind of like spiraled out of control. It was just like, whoa, this is so much more than we ever wanted it to be.
Oh, shit.
So it became like a full-time job.
Yeah. Did it ever become a full-time job?
I mean, I never made money off of it. I had to close the website recently because I was still spending so much money on it and not making money on it.
Right.
So yes, it was a full-time job that I did not get paid for ever. but also, we did product and we sold product, and that, that kept the site going for the long run. But once GSC happened, it was really hard to keep doing Tracko.
Yeah, and GSC's Golden Cycle Saddlery, which is Kyle's current shop and project, and what is that, like a 10-year-old child at this point?
It's 10-year-old.
15?
It's 10 years old at this point. There was three of us originally, Thomas Wood, Ty Hathaway, and myself. And Thomas actually went up to Portland to work at Speedbog and Vanilla. And Ty Hathaway and I are still the current owners of Golden Saddle Cyclery.
Sick. And then actually, I want to step back just a minute. Can you just explain what Tracko is for anyone that maybe doesn't know?
Trackosaurus Rex was my old blog that was very much the precursor to creating a track bike community across the world. It was just news and photography and culture, but on the internet.
It was fucking cool too. It was definitely like in the early aughts, as they say these days. It was like the go-to source for all things track bike, and I think it it was for sure before Prawley's thing.
I think we were about the same time, but mine was track bike centric, and his was design, music, bikes, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. But I remember at the time it was like Tracko was like finger on the pulse, not even finger on the pulse, like kind of guiding the culture here and there. Like It was fucking awesome. Yeah. And so I feel like I went back recently and looked at I was like, what was the first Tracko post? And it might have been like you driving to San Francisco for something with Hiroshi Fujiwara. Is that right?
No, that was late. It had been around for a little bit longer.
It was. Okay.
Yeah, we delivered a bike to him.
Dude, what what the fuck?
I mean, that's what it was. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't even know who the guy was.
Right.
I didn't know he was such a big deal. And then later on, I mean, one of the biggest designers of all times now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Like, track bikes connected so many different kinds of people across the globe. I mean, it was absolutely wild. It was a beautiful time in my life for sure.
Yeah, I think for a lot of us.
Yeah. No, of course. I mean, obviously we met because of Trackosaurus Rex.
100%.
And it's how I met, most people.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. And I always think too, like how fortunate we were to be at that was just like time and place,
Yeah.
5 years earlier, 5 years later, you kind of missed the boat.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't get to see, I mean, there was a beginning even before us that we weren't a part of, which was beautiful as well. And, one thing Trackosaurus Rex did was dig up that history as well to make sure the kids our age knew that there was cats doing this way before us even,
Yeah, well, a lot of it was graffiti and messenger stuff, was it not?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, West Coast graffiti and messenger stuff for sure. East Coast, it seemed like it was more messenger.
Totally.
But, I mean, learning about Barry McGee on track bikes and stuff like that through a couple of my friends in San Francisco. And, I mean, that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
The bike is such an easy ladder to get that much higher than someone without a bike.
Oh, you mean because of like entry? It's so easy to enter?
No, ladder. Like if you're going to get up above someone else.
I don't understand.
You're painting.
Oh, as like a physical booster.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could use any. One thing that's kind of funny about Barry McGee, Amaze, and those guys, amazing artists, like definitely culture makers, but they are like flavor of the month heads also, like track bikes, scooters, surfing, like, what the hell? Like, not really down for the cause, just like hot to trot, Like,
well, I mean, I know that a lot of them they still got their bike and they're still surfing. So, I think they just wanted to step away from the limelight a lot. I actually, think they probably are still doing a lot of those things, but, they just weren't, they just got too big.
Totally. Okay, save the track bike. Can you explain it?
so Save the Track Bike happened because of fixed gear freestyle, and
Oh.
bikes were becoming not track bikes. So you started having bikes like the Bruiser, the Brooklyn Machine Works, these bikes that took a bigger tire, were a fixed gear bike, were not a track bike. So Save the Track Bike was a commentary on the fact that the bike's geometry was changing, the handlebars were changing, like these things were changing a bike into a new bike, and everybody wanted to call it a track bike, but it wasn't a track bike. It was a fixed gear freestyle bike. So, Save the Track Bike meant, have a fixed gear freestyle bike, but don't forget where you came from. Have this track bike as well.
Yeah, and a little bit like is it like a know your history kind of a thing too?
Yeah, I mean, Trackosaurus Rex was all about what came before us in trying to educate people on that, and I tried to keep doing that throughout Trackosaurus Rex existence, which I think was around probably over 10 years. And Save the Track Bike came from a fashion thing called Save the Trees, which was just this thing in New York Fashion Week, where they made these buttons about this event that wasn't going to happen. And that's kind of where it came from.
Cool. Yeah, I like it. Okay, what about peak gravel? We're switching gears all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, for sure. I ride bikes off road. To me, the word gravel in the first place is a bad term for bikes, because a gravel bike is just a road bike with fat tires, and we were all riding those before there was things called gravel bikes. I think peak gravel was probably 5 years ago, but I also think that these new kinds of bikes, these Swiss Army knife bikes, with like two different wheel sizes, I think in theory they're a great idea. But being at a bike shop all the time, if you don't ride your two wheel sets the same amount, you wear through stuff a lot quicker. So sometimes just having the one wheel size and one tire set is a better thing. I just feel like gravel turned into a way for the bike industry to sell people more things.
What would you call gravel? You just be like road bikes with big tires. It's kind of clunky.
Yeah, I mean, I would just call road. I just call it road cycling.
Yeah, but it's not on a road. I mean, or it's not on a paved road.
No, it's not on paved roads. Those are roads.
You just call it all road?
All road is good.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta make a list here. We don't wanna offend anybody. Okay, what about I just have mountain bike. Is that enough to go off, or is that too big?
No, I mean, to me, mountain biking is the thing that still makes me feel young. I mean, even younger than a track bike makes me feel.
Young. Is that like your hip hop alias?
It could be. I absolutely love mountain biking. I think it is the purest form of joy I can have personally. For my birthday was yesterday, and the day before that, I got some friends together to go ride a bike park, wow. which isn't always my favorite thing to do on a mountain bike. But man, sometimes just riding berms and jumps and smooth trails with friends, there's just nothing better.
Cool. And what kind of bikes are you riding right now?
Man, I'm riding my track bikes more than anything.
Cool.
Especially during the start of the pandemic. There weren't cars on the road, so we were just riding track bikes everywhere throughout the city, going to new parts of Los Angeles we never spent time in before. Doing that a lot. A lot of the forests have been closed, so my fat tire road bikes are not making it out and about as often as they usually would. And I'm mountain biking when I can, but it's not often, just because, for mountain biking here, you need a car. Even though the trails are close, but if you want to get back there, you need a car. So that's been a little bit stressful, but yeah, definitely been riding, my FBM Sword track bike a ton, which is currently my oldest bike. I've had that bike longer than any other bike I own right now.
Wow.
I've been riding my Speedwagon track bike, which I did for the build off with Speedwagon a couple of years ago.
I remember it. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so fast and it's so comfortable.
It had like a Sun Ra vibe. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. Based on it was actually based on a painting of Sun Ra. But yeah, so been riding the track bikes a ton. I've been riding the mountain bike when I can, but it hasn't been often. I recently built up a kind of commuter crust bike, one of the Canty Lightning Bolts. And it's actually just going to probably become my road bike. That thing's been a lot of fun too. Lightweight, fast, comfortable.
Cool. Any carbon fiber in there?
My new, I really try not to ride carbon fiber, but my new mountain bike is a Santa Cruz 5010 from last year. They've redesigned it now, and I actually got this bike because I wanted to make sure to have this bike because the redesign, I don't like it as much. So I built up a Santa Cruz 5010. That is the only carbon bike I have.
Why do you not like carbon? And then what is it that you like about the 5010 that you have?
So I really just enjoy the way steel bicycles ride. It almost always feels like they're working with you instead of against you, which some carbon bikes just can be so stiff. It feels like you're really working against the bike to make it do what you want it to do. The 5010, they make an aluminum version of it. I actually don't think I've even ever seen an aluminum version of it, but I know they make one. But the reason I like that bike so much because it's a mountain bike BMX bike. It has a little bit shorter travel. It's not as long as a lot of the modern mountain bikes. It has a lower bottom bracket, so it still is. It's quite fast, but you can still bunny hop it onto a picnic table, which you can't do that with a lot of mountain bikes.
I don't think the bike matters on that one for me.
You'd be surprised. Though the short travel bikes with that kind of geometry, sometimes you can just preload them and they'll get up there for you.
So is this a full suspension bike?
Yes.
And then what do you define as short travel?
130.
Oh, because
100 to 130.
1 to 130. Oh, okay. Interesting. Huh. I feel like I want to go down a little rabbit hole here.
Yeah.
What is... So... I gotta turn it on me for a second, but this is because I want your advice. So, riding a lot of gravel bikes, and more progressively, it's getting to be like crazier and crazier terrain. And now I'm like starting to understand like where a mountain bike lives. But the hook is, I still want to do distance, but I don't like getting so beat. I'm tired of getting beat up on the bike.
Yeah.
What the hell? Is that nothing really exists that can what fulfills that?
Oh, I mean the 650B 2.0 tire running it at 27 psi is really going to help.
7.
I mean, you could even go lower than that.
What the fuck? I'm taking notes.
And then I mean another thing is getting dropper posts on those bikes will really make you more confident, and it'll make you tense up less going down things. And the tenseness sometimes is what beats you up, and you don't realize it. You think it's the terrain, but it's actually your body reacting to being, kind of fearful of something.
Yeah, which is true. I didn't grow up riding trails, and I can see when I ride with someone who has spent a lot of time riding mountain bikes from back in the day, they just have like...
they have 30 years.
Yeah.
They have 30 years of experience on top of it than you do, It's
yes.
It's actually unfair. It's unfair.
But, whatever. Like, you don't get to choose the background that you have.
Yeah, it's true.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I'm confused about all the mountain bike stuff right now.
I mean, hardtail mountain bikes are... they're very much, you can ride them all day like a gravel bike, and usually feel less beat up at the end of the day. You don't have as many hand positions, but you can fix that with like an ergon style grip and a bar. And then you can move your legs around a lot, which is really nice.
Totally.
But it sounds like air pressure may be your biggest issue, Dustin.
It probably is. And I've even
I would,
on the podcast, I've had people tell me lower, and I'm like, okay, I'll go lower. And then I
yeah,
just like kind of, I'll think it's low. I'll be like, 35 is good, right? I'll be like, no, lower.
yeah,
Okay,
lower.
here's a question. How do you, without a tire gauge, how do you know how do you gauge your pressure?
I just do it by feeling the
Yes.
tire with my hands. But that's also that 30 years of
Exactly.
doing that. You know,
Huh. Well, and then the Ultra D guys said to just go as low as you can go. But then, so I tried that, and then I'm just fucking like smashing my rim on everything.
yeah. I mean, you have to be smooth whenever you're riding low psi. You got to really choose your lines a little bit smarter. And that's another thing with mountain biking that you learn. Like you're no longer riding the trail that's in front of you. You're riding the trail that's 30 feet in front of you.
That's it.
Um,
Totally.
and you make sure your bike 30 feet from now is going to be in the right position to get you through like a rock garden, because you can't make decisions right away. I mean, if a rock garden is directly in front of you, you just got to plow through it. And that's why if you have low air pressure, a lot of times you'll just burp or rip your tire or something like that.
Yeah, I can tell from experience that I'm not looking ahead enough. That's good advice.
Yeah.
'Cause,
50 feet is where I'm looking. 30 feet is where a lot of people feel comfortable, but you got to be looking ahead.
and part of that's just how fast you're going.
Yeah, it's true.
This guy is blazing saddles over here.
I do like riding bikes very fast.
Yes, you do, and you're fucking good at it too. Like, I feel like people don't understand how technically sound you are. That's like a weird way to say
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I don't get to ride bikes with a lot of people, because of work and stuff like that. When we were doing the GSE rides, I was able to ride with a lot of people, but I'm always riding in back to make sure everybody's good.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, I don't look the part, that's for sure, and people get confused by that.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer because we never should really look at someone and try to judge their ability on a bicycle because you have no clue. I look like a hobbit. I guess hobbits should be good at mountain biking. So you should look at me and be like, oh, this guy's good at mountain biking. He looks like a hobbit.
Wait, Hobbit. No, I think more of oh shit, what are the one, not the Hobbits, the other, oh well, this is pointless. Anyways.
Londor?
No, there was one of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbits help the somethings find, they have like the hammers. I want to say Thor, but that's not right. That doesn't make any different. Whatever.
I know what you're talking about. The things with fuzzy boots and all that, and the sledgehammers.
Yeah, they're not.
I don't remember I don't know what they are.
And there's like.
I got that look a little bit though, for sure.
I mean, you really, after realizing that you grew up with BMX, I was like, oh, you have a BMX body, because you're just like dense, and those fuckers are just
very
like,
dense.
You're not even that short, but they're like short and like thick, so they can like throw fucking chunks of metal.
Those guys work out now to ride BMX bikes. It's so crazy.
That makes sense.
We got strong from lifting these super heavy bikes, and now BMX bikes are so light they have to work out to be able to do what they do. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know if you follow any BMXers on Instagram, but there's this kid, Brad Sims. I don't even know if he's a kid, but he's obviously younger than I am. But that man can bunny hop his bike like 6 feet somehow.
Holy shit.
Look him up, Brad Sims. He does the craziest things I've seen on a BMX bike in a long time. And he rides a BMX bike almost like he's retired because he's doing things that you would do in a much smaller scale if you rode BMX your whole life and you wanted to still be doing it as an adult. But he does it at a scale that looks like he's in an amusement park, bunny hopping, a 20-foot road gap off a little curb cut that's 3 inches tall. It's so crazy. Brad Sims, look him up. Unbelievable. I think he actually just got Rider of the Year for BMX Mag.
Oh, that's sick.
I think he's based in San Francisco, and most of his Instagram is slow-mo videos, and they have to be in slow-mo because it's the only way to comprehend how crazy the thing is he's doing.
That's fucking cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a funny thing. It reminds me that I feel like the BMX culture has always kind of had not a bad rap, but like it never really like it's really hard for BMX athletes to like be full-time BMX athletes. Like it's almost like this subculture that's like a notch. It's definitely below skating. Like it's never
Yeah, I
quite
mean,
like made it.
BMX had its heyday. In the 70s, people made money off of it. I mean, it was pretty crazy. But yeah, it never went back to a money making thing after that.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I feel like, man, 90% of the people that I know, and even just in other disciplines, like through like skate culture and stuff, so many people are like, oh, I grew up BMX. And it's
Yeah.
like, how does this thing like affect so many people, but then just kind of stay at this like young realm, but not have like a I don't know. It's just confusing to me.
Well, it's so funny because I think I have the answer to that. It's getting your driver's license.
Yeah,
So
that
the thing
is.
is with skateboarding, once you get your driver's license, you get opened up to so many more skate spots because you throw your skateboard in the trunk, you go, you're gone. With a
Yes.
bike, as a young kid, you didn't have your driver's license, use the bike to get to the spots, and
Yes.
you could get so much further than you could with a skateboard.
Yes.
So you could get 5 miles down the road to hit this spot. But once you got the car, it's you either throw a bike rack on it or you throw the bike in it somehow, and it just it got so much harder. It was so much easier, then it gets so much harder. So then kids, after 16 really kind of let go of it, maybe start skateboarding more, or they just quit everything and just drive cars around and party.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's super accurate. I feel
Because
that.
we're all given bikes growing up,
Yep.
and you choose to do what you want with it. But it most likely as a kid, you're given a BMX bike because that's what fits kids the best.
And they're
So
like can be dropped and shit. They're strong, sturdy.
exactly. So the thing is, this bike, it can become your hobby, or once you have another form of transportation that's easier than biking, to your friend's house. Sometimes you forget about it. And I think that's why BMX will never be what it was in the 70s. It was just so new.
Yeah. Well, I always compare it to, or like think of the skate, because skate and BMX were like going, they both died. Skate came back, died again, then went mega, and BMX just kind of like slowly sort of like leveled out into whatever it is now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But man, the bikes have gotten so much better and are so fun to ride now because they weigh nothing. The geometries have changed for wheelies and manuals and nose manuals and stuff like that.
Wow.
I mean, it's crazy. I highly recommend anyone riding a modern BMX bike at some point, even if it's just around the block, because they're so fun.
Wait, how much does what's like a modern BMX bike weigh compared to, and how much did they used to weigh?
They used to weigh like 35 pounds, and they can be like 23.
Fuck. 35 pounds.
It's
That's
crazy.
so hard to lift? A fucking
Yeah,
12-year-old
that's how.
prepubescent skinny ass kid, like how the hell are you supposed to jump anything with that?
Well, that's the thing is that's why bikes got light, so kids didn't get strong. So then they had to start working out to be able to do the tricks that they're doing now. It's crazy.
Could you ever do a tail whip?
I could.
Do you think you that's just one you probably got to keep doing, huh?
Yeah, I haven't done one since I was 17.
That's fucking sick.
And I've never done one over a double. I've only done one over a tabletop. I was always scared to do one over a legitimate dirt jump.
How the fuck did you start learning? Because no foam pit.
No, there was. I mean, foam pits started to be a thing as I was getting older, but no, you just you learn mostly stuff from lake jumping.
Oh,
So,
that's a great
yeah.
idea.
Two of my good friends growing up who were much older than me, Abe and Eric, they had a property out in the country that had a dock and a lake, and we built this wooden jump, and you learn flips, you learn tail whips, you learn 360s into the water first, and then you had to try it usually on a tabletop first because you don't have a gap in the middle. And then eventually, if you feel like you have the trick dialed, you do it over the big jump.
Dude, so much of that stuff is just repetition.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's all muscle memory. Even jumping a bike, like understanding the idea that your front tire has to come down before your rear tire is very confusing to people.
Wait,
and
on flat or on when you land on like a trend?
Like when you land in a landing, it's
okay.
all about getting that front wheel.
Front first, not the same time.
Well, I mean, you can do the same time, but usually when you do the same time, that it's usually because you're doing a big trick, and you're like relying on gravity to put your feet back on the pedals. But if you're the thing is, with dirt jumping, it's all about rhythm sections. So you have multiple jumps after one another, and usually there's not enough time to pedal in between them. So you're pumping too. So you're doing the trick in the air, and then you're putting your front tire down and pumping your bike through the landing to keep your speed for the next jump, which is normally a bigger jump.
Oh, shit. Dude, that could go wrong. It's so fast.
It goes wrong all the time.
All the time. There you go.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's cool. Okay, what about, I never really learned how to bunny hop. Could you explain it? Like, how do you bunny hop?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem is a lot of people, think they know how to bunny hop because of clipless pedals.
No, that's not how you do. I know that. That's cheating.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand that, and they also think that's how you jump a bike off of a jump, which is not.
It's fucking sketchy because that shit pops out.
They do. But the way to bunny hop is you pull your handlebars up to your chest, and that first pull up to your chest gives your bike the height which it can be. So if you pull up, so basically, because what happens is your tire is high as the bike is long. So if you're just pulling up, and then when you do the push forward, it's what brings your rear tire up. So you've brought your handlebars up as high as you can, and then when you do the push, that's what causes the bike to do that. So it's pulling the handlebars up to your chest first, and then pushing them forward to get the rear wheel up and over something or onto something.
So pull up, and then at the peak of pull up, then you jump and push.
Then you push, yeah. You're at the peak. You can't jump anymore. So your peak is when you would start to push forward on the handlebars.
So when are you is it probably right at the beginning you're pushing off with your feet?
No, a little bit. It's actually surprisingly how little your feet do in a bunny hop.
Right.
It's all your body.
It's like a whip, like a finesse.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly like a whip. I've never even thought about it like that, but yeah, it is like a whip.
Flinging it.
The energy from the original pull is what allows you to push to get the rear wheel higher.
Interesting. Obviously similar to an ollie, but ollies have this obvious point of impact. So it's different, of course, but it's sort of the same.
Yeah. I mean, they're very similar things. But with a bike, it's all upper body, and, obviously the skateboard is all, the pop.
Yeah, and it's all lower body.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, okay, cool. I appreciate that. That's good. Huh.
I mean, really the best way to learn how to bunny hop is to put something small on the ground and start trying to get your front wheel over it higher than your rear wheel, because the thing is, everybody does that negative bunny hop where your rear wheel is higher than your front wheels, and I don't really understand how that's possible, but it'll give you an idea of how you got to pull your front wheel up to be able to get that rear wheel up higher.
Okay, and then what would you say? What's the best tool to learn this on?
I would take a 2x4 and have it flat.
Which bike
first?
Which bike tool?
I mean, the thing is, you do it with whatever bike you ride the most.
Yeah, but it's hard as fuck to do with a drop bar bike.
It actually isn't, as long as you just don't do it in your drops. If you're on your hoods or on your flats, those bikes are actually really easy to bunny hop.
Okay, then would you say that those bikes are easy to manual on?
No, very difficult.
Okay, so then those are different things.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
wheelies are so much harder than bunny hops.
Oh,
Most people will go through their whole life riding bikes and not be able to wheelie.
Yes.
But everyone will eventually learn how to bunny hop because you need it to be able to get through or get out of the way of things.
Okay, I'm gonna start with a broomstick though. Your 2x4
As
set the
long
bar a little high.
as your front wheel, as long as your front wheel goes over it higher than your rear wheel, you're doing it right.
All right. Thanks. Okay, check my stories later. You can see my progress. Should we go back to the question board?
Yeah.
This question is kind of stupid, but I don't know. Has the shop seen the boom, the cycling boom? I'm sure you guys have been busier than ever.
Oh yeah, for sure. No question about the bike shop world exploded when we thought it was going to tank. We had no clue what the pandemic was going to do for us. But it also has, while bike shops have made money, I wouldn't say you're necessarily making customers for life, which is what Untitled Cyclery has always, kind of banked on. You're definitely selling the cheapest bike that you have in your store over and over again, rather than putting people on quality bikes that are going to make them fall in love with cycling.
I love this topic of conversation. It's so fascinating. Like, people just want a quick, cheap fix. And I would assume that because it's this cheap, shitty fix, it's like not the greatest experience.
It isn't, and it can't be,
Can't be.
I would say out of the many bikes that we sold during this pandemic, I would say maybe 6 out of all of them are customers that are going to stay customers.
Yeah,
keep riding their bike.
Interesting. Oh yeah, and obviously, fucking decades worth of doing this, you have a gauge of what's going to hook or not.
You know from the second you're selling the bike to someone, and it kind of feels bad because maybe someone that really was going to fall in love with cycling was unable to get a bike because everything sold out. And it really hurt in the beginning. Luckily, all the bikes sold out, and then we didn't feel bad about anything because we just couldn't do anything.
Cool.
But there would be times where, you would see a bike going out the door and you were like, man, I don't know. This bike may just hang up for the rest of its life. I hope the resale market next year, I hope these people that bought these bikes and aren't using them sell them, because I think that's going to be very important for getting people that actually want to ride bikes on bicycles. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy. But the craziest part is someone has an old bike that has a broken rear derailleur, 9-speed rear derailleur. You go to do a tune-up on it, needs the derailleur, and those derailleurs aren't available for months, maybe till January. So you have this thing where after the bike shops ran out of bikes, people then went and bought used bikes. And then the world was fixing so many used bikes that we used up all the parts because we were unable to get parts.
Wow.
And so we have a couple bikes in the bike shop that have been there for over 6 months, just waiting on a part that's not available till January.
Whoa.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, obviously supply chain issues.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's see. Okay, what are some of the most common questions you get asked at the shop? And I don't know if there's if it's different because of the pandemic, but there's everything you do. People ask a lot of I'm talking too much.
Probably the most common question is, can I get a bike for $350?
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. So people just want a fucking cheap ass bike.
Yeah.
Dude, what?
And I get it, because you don't know if you're gonna love it, but also if you don't give it a chance, you can't love it. It's you can't ever fall in love with something unless you give it a chance. That has to do with people, friends, bikes. You have to give it a chance, or you'll never fall in love.
I like this advice. This is really good. So you probably have this conversation a lot then.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't recently, because I haven't been at the bike shop recently. Obviously, because I just had a child. But yeah, it's a very common conversation. You really have to. The thing is, if you want someone to fall in love with bicycles, you have to give them the tools to fall in love with the bike. You have to give them the bike that's going to be comfortable for them to ride. It's got to be the bike that is the right bike for them, which a skinny tired road bike is not the right bike for 90% of the people out there. A track bike is not the right bike for 90% of the people out there. Bikes like Rivendell's sometimes are the best bikes to get human beings on to fall in love with cycling. Cool. Because some of us are racing still, but like, I'm not racing, I have more fun riding my Rivendell than I have riding any of my fast drop bar bikes. And I'll go mountain biking on the Rivendell because the bike is completely capable of doing that. We don't let us think that it is. But the thing is, you set someone up on a bike that fits them, that's comfortable, that is going to be used for what they want to use it for. You give them the tools to be able to figure out how to lube the chain, fix a flat if you get one. And then you even can introduce them into a family or a community, and it's a no-brainer. You're going to have a cyclist for the rest of their life. But someone that just wants to come in, buy the bike because you have it. It's the price they want to spend. They don't want anything else. They don't even want a water bottle cage. Like, you're setting yourself up for disaster, the bike shop and the person getting the bike.
Yeah, totally. And then in the end, you're like, I guess I'll sell this to you because that's what you want. And like,
yeah,
there it is, Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, in the beginning of the pandemic, I bought 2 bikes back from people because I was like, if you're not riding this, you don't want it. Just let me buy it back from you because I have customers waiting for this bike.
Oh, that's awesome.
That want to ride it. I'll give you all your money back for it.
Cool. Oh, that's rad.
For me, it's always been about getting people on bikes and keeping them on bikes. Most bike shops are about getting people on a bike. I mean, I can't say most bike shops because that's a generalization. Independent bike shops, for the most part, they really strive on creating lifetime customers. But some of the big, like box stores, it's all about having the stock to get someone on a bike right that moment, and then you're not holding their hand through anymore. So a lot of times, they feel uncomfortable being in the streets. They don't know where to ride. So then you've lost someone, to the normal world who could have been a cyclist.
Yeah. That's really cool to hear. And it's something I haven't thought about too often. There's all these things that kind of have to fall into place for there to be this bigger life commitment to cycling.
Oh, so much more than anyone ever thinks about.
Right.
Even getting someone a fanny pack for the first time that has everything in it can change their whole attitude on cycling. If you make someone comfortable riding a bike without a tight-fitting kit, sometimes that will save their idea of cycling, because a lot of times a bike shop's going to tell you need a kit to go ride a road bike when you don't,
Right.
You don't even need clipless pedals. You can have platform pedals on any of your, I don't even have clipless pedals on any of my bikes except single speed now. Awesome. Just because I wanted to make my life as easy as possible to be able to go jump on any bike and do anything I wanted at any time,
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have that much time. I don't want to spend all my time getting ready. I want to be like, oh, I have 45 minutes. I'm just going to do a quick loop in the park, So I jump on my bike with sandals, cotton t-shirt, normal shorts, and, I just get it done.
Yeah, I love it. That's sick. Good perspective. I don't know if this is a good question. Why is culture in cycling important to you? But I kind of mean culture in general, but culture is such a big word that, but I think I think you know what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean for sure. So I wouldn't say culture in cycling is that important to me.
Interesting.
And I think it's because me and Cyclist we're not really into the same thing.
But I would say is a generalization because you're a cyclist. I'm a cyclist.
That is a generalization because my next thing was obviously all my really good friends who I ride bikes with, they're my really good friends because we're into the same stuff. We're into art. We're into design. We're into music. We're into cameras, you know. So culture to me is extremely important. The culture of cycling to me is not that important.
No, I say culture in cycling. So basically,
So it could be any culture in cycling.
Yeah, but then it's like a cup of water, and you add all these different colored dyes in it, and it all mixed together and makes this awesome thing. Because there's cycling history where the track bike came from. Then there's just interesting design and this, like, you know, the breaking away, and you know, there's things to it that I feel like I'm kind of painting myself in. Yeah.
No, so I get what you're saying now. So cycling today, what we know as of cycling culture,
not professional cycling,
right? But also we got that's in there, you know. The world of going on a big, fast group ride, and meeting at the coffee shop, ending at the coffee shop, like that culture is extremely important to people who do it, but it's not important to me. You know, for me, the biggest thing is going out with people who wouldn't normally be comfortable doing like a trail or a certain ride you're doing, and creating a safe spot for them to go do this for the first time and then maybe be able to do it later. You know, so culture is extremely important in cycling. There are so many different subcultures in cycling. Like I would say track bikes are a subculture, you know, road biking is a subculture, mountain biking is a subculture. So that's such a broad question. I don't think I could even answer it. But for me, the community in my cycling world is the most important thing to me in the world, next to my wife and daughter now. So that's really important, and that community became something because of subcultures.
Yes, and I think it is specifically subcultures that I'm talking about, because even Tracko was a subculture website.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that subculture is what created my current cycling family, which, like what I said, is the second most important thing to me in my life.
Yeah.
You know, the community which I have through Trackosaurus Rex, now through, you know, my Instagram, now through Golden South Cycle 3. I mean, it's priceless. It is the most valuable thing I have as an individual, is that community.
That's sick. Huh.
I mean, it's kind of wild when you know someone almost anywhere in the world that you're going that can help you have a better experience there. And that is one of the most important things you could ever have, is you have someone anywhere in the world that can make your experience that much better.
Through this like network.
And, you know, I try to be that person with Los Angeles or places that I go a lot. You know, if someone has any questions, you know, next thing you know, they're going to get a 3-paragraph long email from me about what to do or where to eat.
Yeah, that's so sick. Huh, very cool.
I mean, the last time I was in Portland, I got the pizza list, and I ended up with like 9 different pizza spots.
Oh, which was your favorite? Or top?
It was, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was it had a kind of a strange name.
Was it Dove Vive?
No, actually, that used to be my favorite. I used to go to Portland for my birthday to eat that pizza, but then I found out that pizza actually originated here in Los Angeles. So now I go there, and that spot's called Zello's. But yeah, that corn pizza, the cornmeal crust corn pizza that they do is from here in Los Angeles.
Have you done Little Star in SF?
I've never done. I don't think so.
Oh,
Maybe.
That's
also I haven't been to San Francisco in years. That's your favorite?
That's the best pizza for me, for sure. It's cornmeal, but they do something with the sauce that, fuck, man.
Yeah. I love spicy marinara. So if there's any kind of spice in the marinara, you kind of had me right then and there.
Like hot spicy?
But the place, yeah. But the place in Portland had a weird name. It was like pizza something.
Pizzanista? Oh no, that's in LA.
No, that's here. I don't remember what it's called. I'll figure it out.
It's okay.
But that was the coolest thing is, I hadn't been to Portland in years, and I just reached out to people and said, hey, I need to eat the best pizza in Portland. And I got a list of like 8 spots, and I just went to all of them.
Dude, and then you go to some of them and you're like, this is the shittiest pizza I've ever had. How the fuck was this someone's favorite
I actually
pizza?
I don't think I ever had a bad piece of pizza in Portland the last time I was there. Man, I also went to this Mediterranean restaurant there that was mind-blowing as well, but I don't remember what it was called.
Oh, cool.
It had some crazy name, and it looked pretty hip, and it was pretty famous, but it was super good. My last trip to Portland for the Speedwagon build-off was one of the greatest trips I've ever been on in my life.
Oh, damn, that's great.
Yeah, got to go to Ravello before they closed, shot it for the Radavist.
Sick.
Got to go to Gladys Bikes for the first time. Also Golden Pliers had just opened, so I got to go to Golden Pliers right in the beginning. It was a beautiful trip, and I left with a Speedwagon, which that just doesn't happen that often.
That is a fucking kill. And you exclusively ate pizza.
Ate pizza only, and that Mediterranean restaurant. But
hey, have you noticed like a much of a shift since you've had your first child? And what's your child's name?
Frida Love Kelley.
Frido?
And yes, Frida
Love Kelley.
Yeah, Frida.
And
so
then
Frida.
The shift might have happened, when you first found out that you were pregnant, or you know what I mean.
No, it definitely didn't. Our biggest shift was we had some complications in the beginning. Liz's water ruptured early.
Oh shit.
So we spent 2 months in the hospital.
Oh, whoa.
And that's when the real shift happened.
Whoa, that's heavy.
It was absolutely wild. We really didn't know how we were going to deal with it in the beginning.
Wow.
But one of the reasons Frida's middle name became Love was we were shown so much support and love from our family and friends here in Los Angeles during all of that. It really got us through those 2 months.
Wow.
It was crazy. So Frida was born on August 24th, 2020.
Wow. Yeah, congratulations. That's
Now things have really changed.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
sleep anymore.
Yeah.
Liz definitely doesn't sleep. So it's been difficult, but it's been amazing. We took her to the beach for the first time yesterday for my birthday.
Whoa.
And it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And yesterday, so she's like 1 month away from your birthday.
Yeah. So she is exactly 1 month, and then my birthday.
That's cool. Wow. That's a pretty good birthday present.
Yeah. It was the best birthday present. That's for sure.
Perfect cue. I like that. She's
Yeah.
like, yeah. Well, I don't know. We're at an hour, so we could top it off. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about or anything before we seal the deal?
Not really.
All right. Well, I guess maybe that's it then.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
That was fun. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle, for being on the podcast. Congratulations with that new little one. Very cool to see this chapter unfold for you. If anybody wants to learn more about Kyle or follow the antics of Golden Saddle Cyclery, you can find them on Instagram at Kyle B. Kelley and at Golden Saddle Cyclery. And big shout out to today's sponsor, the Everything's Been Done Gear Shop. The Everything's Been Done Gear Shop has everything you would ever imagine never knowing that you needed. ebdgearshop.com, which is not true. It's actually links. You gotta look in the description. All right. Thank you for joining us. If there's anything you liked, hit the like button. Give us a good rating on whatever platform you're listening to. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. And we will see you next week. Same time, same channel. Toodaloo.